Hey everyone, Larry Chen here. We are at NOLA, New Orleans Motorsport Park for Grid Life. Pretty much, I think one of the last events of the year. And I saw this car in grid, in the Time Attack grid, and it kind of really stood out to me. I'm a big Toyota guy. I love Toyota so much. I've never owned an 86. Hopefully one day I'll get to own an 86. But the owner is Josh, also known as Joshi Roku.
Joshi Roku.
So you've been a Corolla guy all your life, huh?
For quite some time. Yeah, I mean, I've been in the car hobby pretty much my whole life. And I got my first Corolla around 2002. And I kind of just evolved from there. And as the scene changed and everything changed with the cars, they just happened to stick with me. So, you know, I was so heavily influenced by Japanese Time Attack in the early 2000s, back when we would order a video and wait a month for it to show up. And everything we would see was just so, I don't want to say foreign, but it was like it was from another world. These guys were taking all these small, powerful cars and they were pushing them to the ragged edge, and it stuck with me forever. And that's pretty much why I'm here doing it today.
Well, we love that. We love these old Corollas. Man, that thing is loud.
It's awesome. A Miata with a V8.
Yeah. We love Corollas. We recently, before the shutdown, we were in Japan, and we had a chance to actually shoot so many historic cars, including Keiichi Tsuchiya's personal 86 with a green hood.
Oh, man.
Yeah. That thing is so cool. But I forgot what shop we went to with the purple 86, the Time Attack one, the N2.
Tech Art.
Tech Art, yeah, Tech Art, yeah.
Absolutely.
So we had a chance to check out Tech Art, and I couldn't believe how many chassis they had just in their small shop area, you know? And there's just like that texture. On top of that, so many, all the parts, like everything, rear ends, transmissions, anything you can think of that has to do with the Ae86 platform.
And they're still developing parts for this old chassis, which is incredible. It's incredible that the car is important enough to them in Japan that they're like, we can still progress. We can still make 4AGs with 250 horsepower. And, you know, it just shows that the car is a cult classic, and hopefully it'll be around for a long time.
Yeah, and I think, you know, part of it is that there's a couple things, right? Toyota is continuing this, the brand, the Corolla brand. And I feel like they've come around in recent years as well to kind of make them more interesting too. You know, like now the rumors are, or at least according to Motor Trend, that they're coming out with like a turbo version, right?
About time.
Yeah, exactly, which is going to be really cool, I think.
Yeah.
But before we started this interview, you actually asked me an interesting question. You know, I always come to events like Grid Life, and then, you know, I'm interviewing as many people as I can. In fact, yesterday I interviewed 5 people. But you're, I think, the first one to actually start the interview with a question for me. What was your question exactly?
I wanted to know basically what was your favorite car or car experience that you have shot. Seeing all these incredible pictures, how do you compare the 24 hours with a Time Attack event, or this incredible SEMA build, or this garage built machine, this guy that's got 5 of these really cool cars? I always wonder from the photographer, like, what is it that you like the best? What is it that got you excited? Having seen so much, you wonder, you know, what it is that pushes your buttons.
So that's a really good question, and I think my answer for you is, it's really hard for a certain shoot to stand out per se. You know, when the shutdown happened this year, it was like one of those things where I'm like, you know what, it's going to be really hard to top the year before. Because in my eyes, you know, I'm always looking for that next shoot. But with that said, it seemed like things turned around, and, you know, with car guys like myself and yourself, you can't hold us down, you know, like no matter what, we're going to try to tinker on cars, we're going to try to go racing. So things happen, like big events like Pikes Peak happened, Grid Life happened, Formula Drift happened.
Yeah.
You know, which honestly saved our year. And we still had really, really big shoots. For example, recently I had a chance to shoot the new Z on the streets of LA. And it's those kind of opportunities that I always look forward to. So hopefully I can look forward to kind of the next shoot, whatever it is, including cars like this. You know, this is such a pleasant surprise because not too long ago, you mentioned the SEMA show. I would walk the floor of the SEMA show, and you'd be hard pressed to find anything like this on the show, you know?
Yeah.
But our generation, guess what? We grew up, and we're kind of starting to more influence what car culture is. And therefore, if you had something like this, then it would just be something that the masses would like now, you know? And I think that's awesome. I love that so much.
I feel like these cars are so good to drive that it would be a shame not to use it for its intended purpose. I've driven so many other cars and owned other cars that were faster, more technologically advanced track cars, but I ended up over time just realizing that, okay, it's really fast, it's really nice, it's not as exciting or as engaging to drive. There's no ABS, the brakes are, it's all up to my foot and my hands and my eyes and my brain to get the maximum I can out of this car. And when I get that good session and I push and I find a car that's faster that I can chase, it's the best feeling in the world. That's why we spend hours in the garage, work 9 to 5, come home, work till 10 or 11 at night, prepping the car, trying to get it ready, buying parts, hiding the parts from your wife, and then you know, somehow they miraculously end up on the car, and you never know. It's just, it's fun. I still like the hobby.
Yeah. I mean, because in essence, Grid Life is a really good snapshot of these type of cars. Like the Ae86 in general and the Corolla that you have here, it was a pedestrian car for the ordinary person, right?
Disposable.
It was never meant to be special, and it was never meant to be extraordinary. You know, who would have known all these years later you can't even find one, you know? And I feel like I said, with Grid Life, you have the Civics. You know, you have, I mean, Miatas, yeah, you can argue they were meant to be special, but they made so many of them, you know? And good luck trying to find a clean NA right now, you know?
Yeah, I agree. They just had all the right elements. They were rear-wheel drive, they were light, they have a lot of room, which I need more room, and the back seat and hatchback, and they were just utilitarian cars that, with a few tweaks, were just really engaging and fun to drive.
It's kind of funny because also a big part of it is, you know, if we just walk around this thing, realistically, you want to talk about design, like simple design. It's basically a box.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
But we've just grown to love it so much over the years because you can't even build a car like this now if you wanted to.
Yeah, I feel bad for a person who hasn't been hoarding parts for 20 years. I recently got online and started looking at little stuff like red line tail lights or corner lenses, and I saw the prices and what people are asking for the parts, and I'm like, I'm so glad that I have these cars now and I have my stash. And you'll see a lot of the old Toyota guys. In Texas, we've actually got like a circle of old school Toyota guys, and we all help each other out, hoarding parts and helping with things. And The community is good. I gotta say, between Techno Toy Tuning, Weird Performance, and all the guys that are on the car, who are mostly from California, they have all just been spectacular in helping me keep this car on the track and try to keep this chassis relevant in a sea of monsters. You know, the cars now in the classes are just incredible.
Can we take a look at this car then?
Yeah, absolutely.
Let's take a look at the engine bay. So I was going to be surprised, but unfortunately Eric ruined it for me. And he told me already what motor this is. This is really, really cool. Like, so this is like your modern take on this car then, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's strange. The car, when I first got it, it was a 20 valve car. It was an unfinished project, and I finished it, and it was a super street car. It got featured years ago. It left me. It came back. I took all that stuff out of it in preparation to do a Honda swap, and it never worked out. And I saw a video of a guy in New Zealand that had did a 1UZ swap, and through the same Corolla network here in the States, I got some pointers from a guy that had done the swap, and it's been in there ever since. So about 2009 is when I swapped this car. And it's very simple. It's got the stock ECU is in the car. It's running on the factory ECU. It's just tied into the Toyota harness. My buddy Rowdy made some really cool headers, and this is actually an intake pipe from an R32 GTR.
Oh, yeah.
So, and it just happened to work, and you know, it's nothing special. It's FC brakes on the front, you know, that's been converted, and I've just taken a lot of time to just try to dial all those parts in.
It actually looks really OEM. I mean, besides this,
Yeah.
I feel like you could probably even make an airbox and it would look even more OEM.
Yeah, I mean, there's actually a lot of room in between the rails, and I built the motor mounts. I built the whole car in my garage at home, and just took my time and
so clean. I mean,
made it happen.
So what did you take this motor out of a Lexus or something?
I did. I bought a wrecked car out of Oklahoma for $1,000, and I drug the chassis home. I pulled the motor out, cleaned it all up, modified the harness, and adapted it to a W58 from a Mark IV, and slapped it all in there. I mean, it really fits. The cross member is the mounting points are unmodified. It does have a little modification, but since it's a front sump from the factory on the LS400, it just worked. It just all went in there, and it worked. And
you know, the thing that blows my mind the most is the fact that you have a stock ECU.
yeah.
Yeah, and it works with a manual transmission.
So when I did that 20 valve car, I did a mega squirt, and I had a horrible time, and it kind of scared me off of standalones, and I mean, it still works. So I'm sure there's more power to be had by going to like a Link ECU, and eventually I would do something like that, but it's not broken, so I'm not gonna really try to do anything to it currently.
I mean, plus this is a lightweight chassis.
2,300 is what this car weighs.
Yeah, and then you're essentially doubling the horsepower almost?
250 is really what it makes, and about 250 torque. It's just all available instantly. If you make a mistake, you miss a gear, just step back on the throttle and it'll pull you out of it. So
I mean, this thing is the million-mile motor, isn't it?
it really is. It has been tracked its whole life since it's been in the car. This season, I pulled the motor out and just did gaskets, you know, valve cover gaskets, valve cover seals and everything. And when I took it all apart and looked under the valve covers, it was all clean. And I did a timing belt and water pump and slapped it back in there, and here we are.
Can we take a look at or talk a little bit about the outside appearance? Like, I absolutely love the old school TRD.
The Griffin stripes? Yeah.
That is super cool, and also build something awesome, without a doubt.
It's really cool. Techno Toy Tuning, that's their tagline. They actually flew in from California. Gabe is here. today, the owner of Techno Toy Tuning, and that's really huge for me because I've been a customer of his since 2002. And yeah, I was more than happy to have them on the car. There's a ton of T3 products on the car, and he builds good stuff and he takes care of his customers, and that's really important to me.
They build all the arms, they build pretty much like
for the Z's.
Yeah, I have all of their stuff on my Z.
Really nice stuff.
So.
You know, I feel good about its construction and its design, and they're just an easy company to deal with. So the car, if you want to talk about a couple of key things, these are CBY fender flares from Japan. I got those from them. I'm running the factory side skirt. I run a 15 by 10 negative 25 square on the car, which is a lot for an 86. It's on a 245 tire, so it's quite a bit of rubber. These are the new Nankang AR1. This is a 100 tread wear tire, and this is my first time on track with it, and they are awesome.
Is this what Jackie Ding runs?
Jackie helped me get the tires.
Got it.
So that's what's cool about the 86. Even dudes I've never even met before, if they've seen the car, they've been willing to step out and help a little bit, which is great. This is an old Shine Auto wing. It's got red line taillights, of course, but it's kind of funny. But my favorite part on this car is.
Oh, is this fiberglass?
Well, it's fiberglass, but it's also a factory Toyota racing.
How? What? I love that you sealed this too.
Absolutely.
No way.
Yeah, so the hatch is actually a factory racing piece for the 86. It's all fiberglass, and it had the Lexan glass in it.
I love so many like little things. Like one of the big things that I noticed is that you kept the interior so clean and as many pieces of it still in the car.
Absolutely. It's, you know, it's a little bit heavy compared to the other car, and I'm in track mod, which is kind of a tough class, but it is a full interior car. It's a street car. It's tagged. It's insured. I can drive it wherever I want, and it goes on some road trips here and there.
I also love you recreating kind of like the old stickers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not everybody catches the Quad Cam 32, and when they do, they're like, "Well, what do you mean 32 valve?"
What the? Oh, what kind of ricer is this guy?
Yeah, all the rice.
And then what about the splitter here? Did you make this yourself?
Yeah, all the aero on the car is homemade. I'll take that 1/8 inch foam poster board, and I make everything a template out of the poster board. And since I live in South Texas, there's a lot of circle track racing. I'll go to the local dirt track shop, and the guy there will bend it out of sheet metal for me, and that's how it ends up getting on the car.
Wow.
Same with the hood scoop. That was homemade.
Yeah, so is there anything on the front end that we can talk about? Like, did you make this to yourself, the splitter?
it's a birch splitter that I made at home. I use birch. It's just an easy material to work with. And you know, the hood scoop was made because I forgot to latch it, and it smashed the windshield, and instead of buying another hood, I just decided to cut a vent in it to cool better. And now I've kind of grown partial to it. I should put a prettier hood on it, but
no, I like it. This is a race car, sir.
Yeah.
It's not a show car.
It is a race car.
I mean, you could tell right there.
Oh, yeah.
You got your transponder right there. Can we take a look at the interior if you can go on that side?
Yeah.
The first thing that I noticed when I saw this on grid was the stock seat. And in pretty good condition, mind you. Like, wow. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the interior.
It's all here. It's all the original interior that came with the car. I went through a lot to try to make sure that I didn't change anything. Like when I did the gearbox with the W58, there's actually a different top. There's like 5 different tops that you can put on a W58 to move the shifter forward or backwards. And I made sure that I had the one that stuck it right through the factory hole. I didn't even have to cut it out any bigger. The transmission just fits in there. I've got these Garage Star seat mounts, and I really like them. They get the seat lower than any other seat mount I've ever had. I use the Corbeau. It's a cheap seat. You know, it's not very expensive, and it is FIA legal, and it works good. I do love my Nardi wheel with the quick release. I I am a little bit of JDM fanboy, so you see my little option sticker on my panel, all that kind of stuff.
So does any of this stuff work still, then?
All of it works.
No.
Well, actually the oil pressure one doesn't work, but the temp gauge and the fuel gauge and the tach.
Wait, the tach still works? So is it a lower, it's obviously a lower red line.
No, so for the tach, you get the input from one half of the engine, and I wired it to the factory input for the tach, and it just worked.
Huh, so then, okay, wow.
So it's actually reading 4 cylinders.
Oh.
Instead of 8, so, but it gets it right.
So then where do you shift at then?
On the rev limiter, yeah, usually around somewhere around 62, 63.
So is this on purpose?
It is.
So this is to kind of release some more.
It's to release a low pressure area that builds up in the wheel well, but it is also a modification that a drifter in Japan, Hibino,
Yeah.
typically would do to his cars. And like I said, I'm in the Japanese style. If I see something that I like, I might bite it, you know? So, and it's just something that I do to my cars now. And it also helps get the tire underneath the fender.
Oh yeah, I see that. It brings it out a little bit.
I bring it out from the bottom, and it gives me a little more space here for the turning radius and everything on the car.
I like that. What a cool build. Let's take it out for a spin real quick.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh man, what a treat. So yesterday I featured that white MR2, the SW20 that's rolling around.
Okay.
And man, that thing was so cool too. You know, being able to, I don't know, for me it's just at least being able to experience just a small part of all the heart and soul that you guys put into these cars, you know. I really do appreciate it. And that's half of it, right? Because a lot of people ask me, how is it that I stay excited about these things? And honestly, it just starts with a love for cars. It's kind of simple, honestly, really, you know? That's kind of what keeps us going.
I don't hate on other builds. I like stance cars. I like slammed old school cars. I like lowriders. I like drag cars. I like cars of all types, and I can see beauty in the details of a person's build. When you look at everything and you look how the car is put together, you can tell that person has taken a lot of time and thought into creating something. It's a canvas, it's a piece of art, it's something that, you know, that person has tirelessly assembled over years. And that's a huge part of the fun of building a car is hunting for the parts, doing the research, looking at the pictures of the cars that you aspire to have, and just know that if you just keep pushing and you keep working and you keep doing that, eventually you'll get to that goal. And don't do it for anybody else but yourself. Do it for yourself. You build what you like, and don't worry if anybody else gets it or not.
Well, I think if the original creators of the 86 saw, you know, I'm sure they're able to see now, like, what they've become, you know, legendary status.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's pretty cool to kind of see the evolution.
It's funny that you said that you saw Tsuchiya. So like a pipe dream of mine has always been when they did the original hot version and they came over to the US and drove our cars. In the back of my head, I've always been like, I wonder if Tsuchiya would hate this V8, this totally American, you know, let's put a V8 in it mentality. But we kept it with a Toyota. It's a nice lightweight aluminum motor. It's a really good engine. And I think that the power and balance are still really, really good. A lot of purists don't like the V8 swap, but looking at the actual numbers and the corner weights and the performance of the car, it's pretty hard to argue that it wasn't a good fit because it's worked really well for a long time now.
Awesome. Well, let's drive this. I definitely also want to feature your other car. I know you have a Honda swapped one too.
The F22C car is actually probably the more popular car of mine, and I've got some stuff coming for it for Super Lap, so we can step it up a notch.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Maybe next time we're in Texas. Wow, yeah, this shifter is nice. So what is this transmission originally out of?
This one is out of a Mark IV Supra, but the W58 was in Toyota trucks, the old Mark II Supras. It was around, it came out before the R154.
It's the NA version then?
Yes, for the Mark IV. Right.
Okay.
The standard versions had an aluminum center section, and they weren't as strong. The Mark IV has a steel center section, and that's probably why this old transmission has lived for as long as it has.
And it's pretty easy while you're on track to like find your gears.
Man, it may just be because I'm used to this car, but the S2000 transmission is a good transmission.
Yeah.
But it's kind of unforgiving as far as
it's very precise.
It's
like
super precise.
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit ham-fisted, so the 5-speed works great for me.
What kind of suspension is this?
This is Ae86's suspension. New company, affiliated, I believe, with Battle Garage, and they reached out to me before Superlap last year, talking about they were developing a new suspension for the 86, and I got on board with them, and I've been really happy. This is their Fast Road Pro, which is their street setup, and it's real compliant. I mean, a lot of the other stuff I've had has been, stiff, bouncy, off-the-shelf type stuff, but these guys actually valve this to work well with the car, and it's bumpy out there.
Yeah.
And it's soaking up the bumps.
Do you ever drive this on the street?
Yeah, sometimes.
And what kind of mile an hour are you hitting at the end of this long straightaway?
Probably 130, somewhere in that range, before we run out of gear.
Really? You actually hit the top of fifth?
I'm bouncing off the rev limiter just as I pass the tower all the way to the brake zone.
Wow.
And it's just hammering the rev limiter before I jump into the brakes. So it's moving.
Huh. And I guess for most tracks, it doesn't really matter for you.
No,
I mean, you're right at the end.
3 tracks I go to max out the car: Coda, Road Atlanta, and here. So.
But you probably make up the time everywhere else, huh?
Oh, well, I mean, I guess it's fast for an old Corolla, but when I look at the real guys' fast times, it's something else.
It's kind of funny to hear the sound. It sounds like it shouldn't be coming from this car.
No.
I like that.
It's a real easy car to drive.
Wow. It's really easy to drive.
Yeah.
And it cruises nice too.
Yeah, it's not vibrating the steering wheel too bad or any of that kind of stuff. It's a usable engine swap.
Yeah. So I've had a chance to, over the years, follow Taka Aono.
Yep.
Over the years, when he was still campaigning the 86.
Yep.
And at one point, in Formula Drift, there was a couple of them, but as years went on, he just kept going with that chassis. He's a legend, right?
Yeah, he's one of my heroes.
Yeah,
I've got his sticker on the mirror over there.
Right, flying 86.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's just one of those things where it's cool. I mean, even though he could probably drive way better in a modern car, he still just wants to keep that spirit alive.
Yeah.
He still has it, his drift car, which is so cool. But yeah, this is super awesome.
Yeah, he's keeping the chassis relevant.
Wow. It feels like I'm driving a muscle car.
Yeah.
It's so crazy.
Yeah, it's great.
It really does.
And
It sounds like a muscle car.
this motor is not being taxed. It's used to dragging around a 4-door sedan all the time. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That is so crazy. It's actually a shame that Toyota didn't use this for a sports car.
I agree. They definitely make some decisions I don't know that I get behind 100%, but their styling and their technology and their heritage is all still really important.
Right.
And keep up with that. I like all the current, cars, front wheel drive and rear wheel drive.
Because like, I mean, other than the LS, what else did this come out in? The SC 400, right?
Yeah.
But that's such a heavy car.
Yeah.
Like, it's not anything like this.
No, but look at how many of them are still on the road. The LS 400 is a great car. I love that car.
Right.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah.
This thing is unbelievable. You built a monster.
Oh, thank you. Well,
How is this not more popular?
I don't know.
It's just so silly.
I try to tell other people, but Oh, it's a lot of fun out there on that racetrack. I can assure you.
I bet. Yeah. I mean, because not only does it go fast, it turns real good too.
It stops real good too.
Yeah.
The brakes work awesome.
I mean, RX-7. So what about the rear brakes?
It's factory brakes, but I use Ray Bestos track pads, and it works. Yeah, that last session was a really good session for me today. I got in a nice little battle with a couple of other cars, and that's just where it's at. Man.
I see like fifth gear, man, when you're cruising, it's really high up there in the RPMs.
Yeah. Ultimately, I'll run a 390 in the car, and that's almost like the sweet spot for this power and gear ratio. I just didn't have one available right now. If you get the chance to drive the coupe, you'll flip out at how completely polar opposite they are.
Oh, really?
But the coupe is so fast and so visceral.
So is that one turbo or is that NA?
It's NA right now, but I just picked up an HKS supercharger, and I hope to have that on the car by Super Lap. We're at 220 wheel horsepower right now. The car weighs 2,070. I'd like to have 350 to the wheels, and then still close to the same weight.
In the current configuration, which car is faster?
The 4-cylinder car is faster.
Really?
It's just lighter. It's so hard to beat lightness.
Got it.
And it's so stripped on the inside and so visceral. Man, that car gets you going because, we love the F20, F22C power plants.
Yeah.
It's just such a good fit for that car.
Right. And then now everybody's doing K-swaps, right?
I've looked into it. If the supercharger didn't come up for such a good price, I really considered going that route. But I'm just kind of a guy that I let the universe tell me where it is I need to go next. So a supercharger drops in my lap. Well, okay, universe, we're gonna go supercharge it for a little while.
Oh man, this is such a fun car to drive. I just can't believe you're pushing this on the track 10/10s.
Oh man,
it's got to be such a pleasure.
it's a gas.
It's hilarious also that all the gauges work. I think that's such a it's the last 5%, right? That a lot of people miss.
Detail.
Detail.
Man, I'm stoked that you like it.
No, I love it. That's the kind of, and I'll be honest, it's rare for me to not like something, but part of it is that we pick our battles. We pick the cars that we ourselves could see enjoying, right? And then that's kind of what we do here at Grid Life. Lucky for us, Grid Life is a place where a lot of them gather up, you know?
Yeah, I really like the Grid Life event. It's been super cool. I like the way that they're organized. I love the diversity of the builds.
And normally at the bigger events, man, it's such a huge crowd because everybody's coming out for a different reason.
The festival atmosphere.
It could be for music. or it could be for drifting, or it could be for time attack, or it could be for GLTC, or it could be for the car show, or it could be, you know, like it's always something else, which is, I think that's great. That's the cool part of it.
I'm glad the culture's still alive. I gotta tell you, so when I say I'm old school, I mean, we used to do hot import nights back in the days.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I went to hot import nights.
I was there for those spring break jams in South Padre when it was just a giant wild music party with terrible body kits and underbodies.
Bunch of Lambo doors.
Yes, but you know what? It was all part of the evolution of it, and it was all important. No matter how cheesy or hokey you might look back on it now, it still helped bring excitement to import cars. It was special.
I liked it for what it was. I went to a lot of them pretty much before they stopped doing them.
Yeah, I mean, it was just a natural evolution to go from hard parking to driving the piss out of them.
That's the sound of the radio. You still have a radio in here?
Yeah, absolutely. I gotta have tunes.
Yeah. Amazing. You know, the thing that surprised me the most is the steering. Like, I'm sure, is that something that you really worked on, huh? Because it's so tight and it's not loose for such an old car.
No, it's a AW11 rack. It's from an MR2, and you know, it helped the motor fit, and it's just a good ratio for the car. It is tough to drive in parking lots because 245 is a lot of rubber, but yeah, out there on the racetrack, when you're going fast, it feels so positive, and it gives you such good feedback from the tires and brakes. And that's why you can drive this car so fast and push it and feel comfortable and confident, because the 86 communicates with the driver well. And I feel like that's the nail on the head, you know, about the car. It's engaging, it's rewarding. When you get the most out of it and you slide through the last corner and you hammer it all the way to the rev limiter, it's just, I just don't know anything that's better.
Yeah, really, I mean, I didn't take it through any corners or anything, but just the slight bends that I was driving it through, I could not believe how much road feel there was.
Yeah.
And I just didn't feel the heaviness, even though the engine is a lot heavier, I think, than the stock motor.
I gained about 100 pounds, and that's really it.
Yeah, that's not that bad.
That's not that bad.
Yeah.
And that's the numbers, you know. I was like, oh.
But in terms of stock wheel and tire, it's way
different.
bigger, right? Contact patch.
We went from this to this.
Yeah, contact patch is much bigger, and plus it's so much more stickier. And this chassis, honestly, surprisingly, it doesn't have that many miles, huh?
No.
126,000 miles. Usually you see these with 300, 400, 500,000 miles.
Well, the last 30,000 have been all wide open throttle, so good miles.
Yeah, very cool. Thank you so much again, Josh. It was a pleasure to feature this car. It was a pleasure to drive this thing.
Hey, bud.
This is my job.
This was an honor.
Yeah, this is so crazy, like, that I get to experience these things.
You're kind of a big deal, Larry.
Please. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. We're gonna keep shooting here at Grid Life, and we'll try to show you guys all the cool cars from here. And yeah, thanks Josh, and follow Josh on Instagram.
Joshi Roku.
Joshi Roku. There you go. That's a wrap.